Walker, born August 13th, 1940, passed November 6, 2022. Dianne D. Wilkins Walker went peacefully to her heavenly home, comforted and surrounded by her loved ones on the morning of Sunday, November 6, 2022. She was 82 years old. Dee was born in Graham, Kentucky to the late James and Madge Wilkins. She attended Cody High School, class of 1957. She relocated with her family to the Orange Park area in 1974. She enjoyed music, dance, movies, gardening, and most of all, spending time with her family and friends. In the late 70s, she joined a group of lighthearted CB enthusiasts and was very well known by the handle the Florida Mermaid. Dee lived life to the fullest and will be remembered for her loud, boisterous, and contagious laughter. She could light up a room with a vibrant spirit and beautiful smile. She was preceded in death by her parents, her son, James X. Conklin, and her brother, James L. Wilkins. She is survived by her loving husband of 40 years, Terry Walker, her children, Dianne and Barry Davis, Gail and Danny Warren, and Joseph and Lindsay Hetu, stepsons, Terry and Raquel Hockert, Brian and Brandy Walker, 10 grandchildren, and 11 great-grandchildren. Also survived by her siblings, Kay Burgess, Angela and Darwin Hawthorne, Billy Stanley, David Wilkins, Deborah and Wayne Woodard, Daniel Wilkins, and many nieces and nephews. We'll hold you in our hearts until we can hold you again in heaven.
2 Timothy 4, 6 through 8 says this: "For I am already being poured out like a drink offering, and the time for my departure is near. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. And now there is in store for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day. Not only to me, but also to all who long for his appearing." Ladies and gentlemen, as we read 2 Timothy here, the writer Paul is coming towards the end of his life. This is actually his last recorded letter, and he chooses to write it to his dear friend Timothy. Paul describes his life as if he's running a race he has finished well. Everyone in this room would agree. Dee ran her race, and she ran her race well. As we know, all races come in 3 segments. The first would be the start. As Josh just shared with us, Dee was born on August 13, 1940 in Kentucky. Now, as a man who is married to a woman from Kentucky, Terry, you can contest to this, Kentucky women are, they're not like other women on earth. They are strong, they are fierce, just a little bit stubborn. They, in a moment, can be loving, caring, and kind. This was Dee through and through. Each and every one of us knows the best thing about Dee was her laugh. And everyone knew when she found something funny. I mean, everyone knew when she found something funny. Dee's life was filled with joy. Even up to the end, she was still making her close family laugh. She lived a life each of us in this room would be lucky to live. Dee started her race well. But as we all know, there comes a time in a race where runners call it the wall. This is the segment, the difficult part of a race, time where we want to quit. All of us know that this life can get us down. It'll get us tired. It'll wear us out. And this is where Dee's faith stepped in. Growing up in a Christian home, Dee had a strong foundation of faith. Though she had a period of time where she wasn't in church, that foundation was still strong. In the late 60s, her children fondly remember her taking them to Northline Baptist Church. But they all would agree her faith grew when she began attending this church. I had the wonderful joy of being her pastor. Through her difficulties, it kept her away most Sundays. I'll never forget the encouragement she gave me. Many years ago, being a young pastor, every Sunday scared me. Did the congregation like my sermon? Did I say enough funny things? Was it right? Is everyone mad at me? And week after week, I would wonder, is anyone just going to come back? And I remember one Sunday, stood in this building and I shared a message, and I remember walking off this stage going, I'm done. This one tanked, this was miserable, this young pastor is finished, no one's gonna come back. And I remember sitting in the back of the church, shaking hands as the pastor is supposed to do, fighting from not looking at people and crying. This is where God sent Dee into my life. I remember the moment, because she came up to me with eyes filled with tears and the biggest smile on her face. And she hugged me and squeezed me harder than I've ever been hugged and squeezed before. And she looked at me with her eyes, with tears in her eyes, weeping, saying, I'm just so proud of you. That sermon meant the world to me. Here I am, hating every minute of it. And Dee was a godsend in my life, an encouragement in my life, and I am a firm believer today. And I am still a pastor because of that moment. I wasn't supposed to be one crying.
Join the crowd.
That encouragement meant the world to me. And I hope for just a moment I can encourage you. For all in this room, God's grace can meet you at your time of need. And you may find comfort and support through Jesus Christ. And if you do not know Christ, please know that we would love to speak to you after service about Jesus. I truly believe Dee is experiencing perfect peace right now in the arms of Jesus and longing for everyone in this room to know him. And as we all know, a race comes to an end. And on November 6, 2020, Dee finished her race, ending in the arms of Jesus. She told her family right before her passing to not be sad for her, that she was actually going to see both kings, Elvis and Christ. We were joking the other night, she's probably sitting between them right now, just squeezing the mess out of them. Dee was a good woman. Her legacy will be carried on by her loving husband, Terry. Her children, Dianne, the oldest. Right there. The oldest.
Dee Dee.
You need to make sure it's the oldest.
Call me Dee Dee.
She said that all the time. This is my oldest.
Yeah.
Her wonderful son, Jimmy. Wonderful daughter, Gail. And the golden child. The baby, Joby. Of course, all of their grandchildren and great children. Dee will be greatly missed. Dee ran her race well. On behalf of the family, they have asked me to read God's Garden. It's located in your bulletin. You can read along with me. God looked around his garden and found an empty place. He looked down upon earth and saw your tired face. He put his arms around you and lifted you to rest. God's garden must be beautiful. He always makes the best. He saw the road was getting rough. The hills were hard to climb. So So he closed your weary eyelids and whispered, "Peace be thine." It broke our heart to lose you, but you didn't go alone. For part of us will be with you the day God called you home. Now I would like to invite some few family members to come and share a few words about Dee. And now, listen, I know for many of you, you could share story after story after story about how Dee moved in your life. And the family has asked for me to encourage you to wait till after the service to share these stories with the family. I want to celebrate the life of Dee at Gail and Danny Warren's home. Family would love to give you directions after service, and I can give you that here as well. They want to hear your stories. They believe that after the service will be a more intimate time to laugh, to cry, and to share a joke or a funny story and express how much Dee's life meant to you. But for right now, we're going to ask Melissa, her niece, to come and speak on behalf of her daughter, Gail. Or do you think, Ms. Warren, do you think? No.
Let's go.
You going to try to do it?
We'll see.
Okay. Listen, I already kicked the ball off with crying, so you're good. Yeah, sorry.
Heather.
If you want, yep, we can. This should be fine to carry it though. You should do that. No, you carry your voice. It'll be fine to carry your voice, sorry.
Not as loud as the dog. Or mom.
Alright, if I don't look up at you guys, just, Joshua did the same thing.
I didn't look up one.
Easier that way, isn't it?
So, my mom was beautiful from the day she was born. You can see the picture, she was beautiful. From the day she was born until the day she left this earth. And she made an impact on everyone around her with her love for life. And she just drew people in with her smile and her laughter. Always her laughter. So I've been thinking about what to say about Mom for the last couple of weeks. And one of the things that keeps standing out to me, in addition to the laugh, is her strength. So way back in the 60s, that would be 1960s, she was a single mom to 3 of us. Dee Dee, the oldest. Jimmy, and me. She bought a house on her own, just worked hard, bought this house all on her own, and made a good life for us. That was hard enough by itself, but then our house burnt down, and that's a whole nother story. Thanking Jimmy for that story. The special one. Anyway, all right, so, that raising 3 children on your own is hard enough, but then that happened and she had to rebuild. And she did that. And she pulled from her strength and moved forward. When I was 2, she married Joe Hitu. And that brought about the golden child. And anyone who knows Joby knows that called for a lot of strength. But then in 1974, Dad moved. He was transferred with the National Guard, and he packed up everything we owned and all our belongings, and we left everything and everyone we knew and moved to Florida. two small children, that would be me and Joe because we're the youngest. We didn't care one way or the other. It was a new adventure. But then there were two teenagers who fought every inch of the way. They didn't want to go. They thought their life was ending. That took strength on our mom's part to keep us all together and going forward. So about 4 years later, Dad and her divorced, and she set about starting over again with just me and Joby. Then she meets Terry. And so begins the next 40 years together. 42. Next, on Christmas Eve, will be 42. So years ago, she was diagnosed with a chronic type of leukemia, and then breast cancer, and then the latest, her Lewy body dementia, and the death of Jimmy. She handled all those things, like everything else in her life, with strength. The last few days in the hospital, Mom was talking about the party she was going to go to in heaven. And she was so excited about the people that she would see again, those family and friends that have already gone. But she also, like Nate talked about, sitting and meeting with two kings. And yeah, she literally meant Jesus and Elvis. Karen Eggers back there can attest to her love for Elvis. Anyways, Mom was quite the character. So the last few years have flown by since her health issues started, some better than others, but all of them filled with Mom's loud laughter. My mom was the complete opposite of me. She was loud, she was boisterous. She walked into the room and she demanded just attention. Her personality demanded it. I'm so not like that. I don't like attention, and by standing up here, it's really difficult for me to do. But I can say that her loud laughter that used to embarrass me and annoy me is the one thing I'm gonna miss so terribly. But I know that right now, she's up there loving on Jesus,
And Elvis.
singing with the king of rock and roll, and as my grandpa would say, cackling with Shirley.
Yep.
Her best friend, Shirley. And that makes me very, very happy. Okay.
Okay, those who don't know me, I married into this craziness. 40 years ago, he became, I was blessed to be married into this craziness. Dee became like a mom to me, and her and I have been like this for the last 20 years. So I have a little poem I want to read. A mother is your first love, as her children are her last. A bond that stretches evermore in the future and the past. Other loves will join in, spring up on either side, but a mother's love still lingers, constant and ever flowing like the tide. An angel lived among us. She showered all with kindness. She shared with us her love. Now she's gone home to stay, but today she is with us. Each of us saying she's okay. Don't think of her as gone away. Her journey's just begun. Life holds many facets. Earth is only one. I loved her. I loved her with all my heart. I'll share some really funny stories with you later.